Hello, hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Trump teased a big announcement and then launched some trading cards, but he did actually have a announcement. It was like a digital bill of rights, but everyone is talking about the trading cards now and not the sort of measures that he wanted to take to protect free speech. So I don't know. Some people are like, oh, he just teased and then he did the thing. And then but so many people are focused on the car. It just seems like a bit of a blunder in my opinion. But it seems like a lot of people don't actually know that was a real announcement beyond that. So I'm gonna play it. I think I'm gonna play the thing. But the trading card thing is a little bizarre, but just FYI. Also, we didn't get yesterday to some of the DeSantis stuff going, I guess, to war with, the Big Pharma as far as like vaccines and what they did, what they said they would do, wouldn't do, whatever sort of harm. So we'll be talking about that today. Also, some news for movie fans or comic book fans and whatnot. Warner Brothers is no longer going to be having Henry Cavill play Superman. And I posted this last night on my Facebook page, and we had some conversation stuff about it. I was actually watching a movie, and I had fallen asleep. My sister came down the stairs, like upset, and then I was just like reading people's comments from that point on until pretty late, and I think it's sad for a lot of reasons. Mainly because, well, the main thing is that he was a good Superman, but the studio not made him, but they told him to announce that he was going to return. So that's bogus. He's just being treated so terribly. And he's a real fan who actually cares about the source material and being true to the character. And I don't think an animal like Henry Cavill is I don't know, is blending well with the world today that wants to use iconic property to sort of push just content one and agendas two. Or maybe sometimes agendas first and content too, like content just for the sole purpose of making more money, not really caring about the quality of the product and the fans behind it. And he's just someone who loves the material, wants to make it, and is a fan and likes to consume it himself. So imagine if a normal nerd was super hot and just talented enough to become an actor, and that's what you got with Henry Cavill. And they don't like fans, and he is a fan. So before we jump into it all, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, different merch that we got in the store, like the Constitution is a Glorious Liberty document with the Frederick Douglass there. We got black tea mugs and the You Are Not That Special, all kinds of goodies that you guys can check out at the website. So go ahead and check that stuff out. Check out different articles that I have, videos. If you like what I do here at Black Tea News, consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. Also check out different books that I've written as well. I have 15, and they'll make a good gift for someone that you know that likes to read. So go ahead and check that stuff out. So I don't want to delay. I don't have a meme. I think the Trump story, the trading cards, is a little weird enough. So we'll go from there. So Trump teased, he had teased something and said there's going to be a major announcement. He said America needs a superhero. And so people were waiting for whatever the announcement was. And some people were speculating, like, I heard some people saying, like, is he going to drop out? I'm like, he's not going to drop out right after he just announced that he was going to run. And so I didn't know what to expect from his big announcement. So he did truth this out, if that's what you call it, because it was on Truth Social, not Twitter. But a major announcement: my official Donald Trump trading card collection is here. These limited edition cards feature amazing art and my life and career collect all of your favorite Trump digital trading cards, very much like a baseball card, but hopefully much more exciting. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and get your cards now, only $99 each. Would make a great Christmas gift. Don't wait. They will be gone, I believe, very quickly. I love how his punctuation is, I mean, that's how he talks. So yeah, people were a little let down with that announcement there. But there was an actual like policy announcement beyond that. But some people are like, putting the trading cards first is a little weird. So $99 is trending. People are talking about that. Some people are defending him like, dude, he's capitalizing off of himself and just selling merch. He's been selling merch, but probably should have came afterwards. And let me show you the video of it, which is a little weird. But I will actually show you his actual policy stuff that he put out, but that a lot of people aren't even talking about.
Hello, everyone. This is Donald Trump. Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington, with an important announcement to make. I'm doing my first official Donald J. Trump NFT collection right here and right now. They're called Trump Digital Trading Cards. These cards feature some of the really incredible artwork pertaining to my life and my career. It's been very exciting. You can collect your Trump digital cards just like a baseball card or other collectibles. Here's one of the best parts. Each card comes with an automatic chance to win amazing prizes like dinner with me. I don't know if that's an amazing prize, but it's what we have. Or golf with you and a group of your friends at one of my beautiful golf courses, and they are beautiful. I'm also doing Zoom calls, a one-on-one meeting, autographing memorabilia, and so much more. We're doing a lot. My official Trump digital trading cards are $99, which doesn't sound like very much for what you're getting. Buy one and you will join a very exclusive community. It's my community, and I think it's something you're going to like, and you're going to like it a lot. They also make perfect gifts. So you can buy them with your credit card or crypto. All you need is an email address. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and buy your Trump digital trading cards right now before they are all gone, and they will be gone. This is my first official Trump trading card NFT collection, and you get a chance to meet me. Go to collecttrumpcards.com right now, and remember, Christmas is coming, and this makes a great Christmas gift.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Yeah. The Hodge twins tweeted that out, and they said they felt like they were, when you would go to sleep as a kid and you'd wake up and at 3 a.m. and there'd be some kind of infomercial playing. Yeah, that's the kind of vibe, I guess, that's given. And you probably can't. That's the website right there. Only 99 each. Cowboy Trump, the spaceman Trump. Yeah, all the things that they showed were is that a pilot Trump like on the Earth, maybe? Some of these are okay photoshops and some are not. I don't know. There's memesters that definitely do better work. I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all. I don't. Like the golf one is okay. Like, but I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't understand. But anyway, there was an actual real announcement. Well, that was a real announcement. Those are real things, just a real website. I guess there's a sweepstakes and everything, which he should be a little careful about automatically. If you buy like I think 45 of them or something, you get um automatically entered into like the dinner or something. Considering some of his dinner guests that have been in the news as of late, I'd probably be a little more careful about that. But um he actually made an announcement about some policy decisions regarding um like a digital bill of rights. So I'll play. No one else is really talking about it because so many people are talking about the trading cards. So I do want to play some of his actual like policy.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president.
Well, I just want to mention something before I continue on and maybe forget. Yeah, everyone should be telling these places to not destroy stuff. No, I don't know how we would be able to see any sort of information from YouTube or Facebook to the regards of what we're seeing on Twitter about Twitter. And it's still like the journalists and folks have access to different stuff. We don't know what all that we're also not seeing. Though the people who are looking into it as much as the media wants to paint them as like right wing hacks or something. Now Barry Weiss and other folks like that aren't right wing, but so I find their reporting interesting, and if there was the stuff to expose like from the Trump administration and other folks trying to also alter free speech in a way that we're seeing with the Biden campaign or the Biden White House and stuff, I think that they would be honest about that. I think the first initial Matt Taibbi thread about the Twitter files, he did mention that both sides engaged as with Twitter as far as reaching out for stuff. But it was like really, really one-sided, really. But then they also came back and said that they haven't been able to, they're told that there's stuff, but they haven't been able to find anything that from the Trump administration that I guess would raise serious red flags, like we're saying, like on the left side of the aisle. So they should tell these folks to save stuff in case we can look at stuff. But I do think information from Yoel Roth, who was the head of trust and safety with Twitter, with him meeting with so many government officials, we should be able to access, if they kept it for logs or notes about those meetings that they had with Twitter. That's stuff that we should be able to access. So hopefully there's a file there somewhere, and they should know not to get rid of that stuff as we continue these investigations. But I doubt that we're going to be able to see a treasure trove of information about YouTube and Facebook unless somebody else has some more money to just go buy up all these other places. What's going on with Elon buying Twitter and trying to be so open about shady stuff going on, that's pretty unprecedented. I don't know how many folks are gonna let that happen again, because they're still so angry about what happened with Elon. But let's continue on.
And I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism, while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats.
Bro, if they start taking away money for colleges that engaged in any sort of like free speech suppression, there's a lot of people going to be losing some money. For real.
Who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling-off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we'll begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
So that was the actual announcement. Just to be fair, though, with the trading cards, he did post about the trading cards and say major announcement. So the people focusing on that was still Trump's doing. But again, I wanted to show the whole thing in its entirety, even though it was about 7 minutes, because a lot of people aren't showing it and talking about it. So I just wanted you guys to be aware. So I think a lot of the things that he's saying is going to be very attractive to people, particularly because so many people have been censored, kicked off social media, throttled. I've had experience with that. Other people have had experience with that. We know from Elon Musk releasing Twitter files and the journalists reporting on stuff, which, by the way, CNN is angry because we didn't get the Twitter file. Like you care about the story. You're just mad because other people are looking into it and getting those scoops and stuff, and you're not, but you're a hack organization. And a lot of these folks had no interest in the Hunter Biden story when that was dropping. They ignored it. People were Jack Posobiec kept tweeting at Jake Tapper like, hey, I got the drive, you want to see it? They didn't want, there were no takers. So people complaining about Elon Musk not letting them see the Twitter files, or inviting some journalists and not people that he sees as overtly political hacks. It is what it is, and you can just report it as everyone else is reporting after the fact, which they just repeat what their friends basically report on and echo and echo and echo and echo anyway. But we do know that people have been shadow banned and speech has been suppressed. And the war for information, the war for speech is like the front line of the battles right now, the information that people are consuming, because it does shape so much of what you decide to vote for. Especially when there's such a monopoly on the left. When I have conversations with people, whether it was like right after the 2020 election or till today, it amazes me that so many people are just so unconvinced of the idea that it is possible that Joe Biden actually got 84 million votes. And before you go haywire on me, they say that because he says such dumb stuff, or he seems so unpopular, and he is unpopular. But Trump was also a very polarizing figure, and some of that was his own doing, and a lot of it was manipulation. I mean, there's still people who say stuff like Trump thought COVID was a hoax. I'm like, you don't shut down the entire country and risk ruining the economy that was like, that you're claiming is so historic and stuff, because you don't believe that this is a real thing. I'm like, just think about it critically. I'm like, did you even watch what he said? I'm like, even some mainstream people have like debunked it. This idea that it was a hoax. So this is an example. There's lots the fine people hoax. Another example. There's so many different ways that the media has manipulated people into believing a different sort of reality, and people just repeat it and they repeat it and they repeat it. So with Democrats controlling social media platforms, which they've lost Twitter, which they're really upset about because that was their baby. But they still have YouTube, they still have Facebook, and they still have Instagram, another sort of, they definitely have TikTok, which I don't know how long TikTok is or isn't going to last, because there's a bunch of security concerns about it, and bipartisan people on the left and the right both know that. I just don't know if they're going to actually make the move to get rid of it or not, even though it is a big concern as far as security goes. But especially since there's so many young people on the app and there's so many huge accounts that are left wing that speak to a lot of those young voters who they want to vote for their side. And if they do go out and vote, they will vote for the Democrats. So I don't know how that's going to go, but they have an intellectual monopoly on so many minds of the people, and they just lost Twitter, but they did have it throughout. I mean, Elon just recently got it toward this end of the year. So they have that. They have Hollywood. They have movies and TV shows and all of these celebrities that come out to push particular things. They have music. They have so much of the culture. So they have such a reach. And with mail-in ballots and so much early like voting is really simple to do, especially with the mail-in stuff. And all you need to do is get this bare minimum voter who, if they wouldn't be enthused to go out and vote in a normal circumstance, how much information do you think they have consumed to be a very informed voter, to know everyone basically on that ballot, to know where they stand on the issues, like truthfully? How many truly informed voters do you think actually goes to the polls? I mean, in Michigan, in 2018, they made it so that you can register to vote on the same day that you actually go and vote on election day. And a lot of people who take advantage of that are young people. So they probably look at the numbers and they're like, oh, we need some more. So they find a way to gin up some more kids to like, get in the car, kids, we're going to the polls. I don't know if someone's actually like transporting them, but they have these plans to get these people who are not well-informed voters. They may be very emotionally passionate voters. That doesn't mean that they know a lot of the facts. They've been misinformed when they go on social media in different places, as opposed to really seeking out the truth themselves. So as long as the left has such a monopoly on information, they totally 100% have the advantage. And if you are like a bare minimum voter and you get this ballot sent to your house, and people, like in 2020, Michelle Obama's like, get your ballot turned in. And all these folks were saying that over and over again, even before like the debates were finished, were saying, get your ballot and turn it in. We have candidates, even in this last election, in the midterms, who debated after people had already voted, which is really ridiculous. I'm not a fan of early voting, but it is what it is. It's all over the country. It's all over the country. And I don't know how you really put the genie back in the bottle, at least anytime soon. I think we should, but it is what it is. So if we don't find a way to break through their monopoly, and Elon Musk had a boatload of money and he could buy Twitter, that's not going to always happen. If we don't find a way to run some kind of counterculture and to break through the system and to meet voters where they're at, and they just continue to have this huge monopoly of information, they're going to keep winning. They're going to win. There's a reason why Democrats really, 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 really want to rely on the popular vote. Now, if Republicans were winning popular vote like crazy, then they wouldn't be for it. But they know that they have access to all of these people, these mass voters, and these big, huge media markets in New York, in California, So if they can just hit these centers with all these huge populations, then they know that they've got a winning strategy because they have the keys. Now, if it was reversed and Republicans had all this access, they'd be crying and want to change the rules to a different sort of thing. But they want people voting in mass and having get rid of the electoral college. And they say one person, one vote. In 2016, when they certified the election, I was in Lansing when you had people beating on the doors or singing "We Shall Overcome," butchering the lyrics outside of the chamber doors while we were voting to certify the results of what our popular vote of Michigan decided, which was that Trump won. and they were begging us not to do that and saying that one person, one vote, because they didn't like the results. So they thought someone from people from California and New York should be able to override the will of Michiganders. So personally, I think if any of your elected officials, whether they be Republican or Democrat, are for getting rid of the popular vote, you need to not vote for that person because they think that outside forces should represent the interest of your constituents more than the people who elected you to office. So Brenda Lawrence, she's her well, the 14th district is no more now, but she's my current representative in Congress, and she doesn't believe in the electoral college. I guess I saw like a panel one night with her, and she said, complain about the electoral college. I'm like, I wouldn't vote for her anyway, but I'm like, this is a huge red flag for me. You're supposed to be representing Michigan. You may not like that Michigan voted for Trump in 2016, but you should at least respect what a lot of people worked really, really hard to achieve and the will of the voters that said this particular thing. Like, you get your new shot, like they had a new shot in 2020, like to make a different choice and different opinion, but you should not be advocating that other people outside of the state that you represent get to override the voters who put you in office. So my little advice there. But Trump is saying a lot of things that's going to be attractive to a lot of people. However, I think people question the obvious, or state the obvious, that he was in office while a lot of the stuff went down. That he was in office when people at the FBI were meeting with Twitter and trying to push all this misinformation and pressuring folks and subverting the will of democracy or information, however you want to put it. He was in place. So the question is, if he's president again, how will things be different? How will he be able to succeed? Is he just going to be able to succeed because he's going to fire everybody? Which a lot of these people should be fired, and they should have been fired. I would have fired a lot more people, especially how his administration was treated with this spying and undermining stuff as he came in, or just seeing how cozy folks were with the media. Like there's just a lot of red flags. I was just like, like if I was the president in 2016 coming into office and seeing some of those like Podesta emails and seeing how cozy the media was with the Democrat Party, I'd be like, we need to vet some more people before y'all come in here, and we need to have some kind of pledge of accountability where you will not be partisan hacks or just something, because it was just wild. That was one of the things that concerned me the most reading those emails, just the relationship that they appeared, how one-sided our system is, how much of a monopoly of information, how lopsided it all is toward one side. And I'm like, he's got to win, because this is too much power on one side. And the Democrats have way too much power on one side as far as how we consume information and talk, etc., and entertain and culture. So I was hoping that Trump, once he got out of office, that he would be more of a forerunner of, I don't know, helping to change that counterculture, but he is, running for president again. And I think people have questions about can he really take on this fight? He's talking a good game, and he's saying things that people are agreeing with, but will he be able to really get the job done? Because he was talking about 230 protections and some of this stuff when he was actually president. So they were ultimately able to pull one over on him as far as suppression of information, particularly with the Hunter Biden laptop. The whole time his FBI had a copy of it, while all these officials came out and said that it's misinformation. He was definitely treated unfairly, but the question is he going to be able to really tame the beast? And we'll have to see. But let's move on talking about another 2024 contender, which there have been some very favorable polls that have come out with Ron DeSantis actually leading Trump in a primary, and head to head with Trump and Biden, that Biden would still win, but DeSantis would win over Biden. So it's still early with that kind of polling, but it's interesting nonetheless. But I did mention yesterday in my intro, but I didn't quite get to it, that DeSantis is going after Big Pharma for, well, vaccine harm and being misled and some fraudulent statements that have been made.
Florida, it is against the law to mislead and to misrepresent, particularly when you're talking about the efficacy of a drug. We see just recently, Florida got $3.2 billion through legal action against those responsible for the opioid crisis. And so it's not like this is something that's unprecedented. So today, I'm announcing a petition with the Supreme Court of Florida to impanel a statewide grand jury to investigate any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccines. And we anticipate that we will get the approval for that. That will be something that will be impaneled, most likely in the Tampa Bay area, and that will come with legal processes that will be able to get more information and to bring legal accountability for those who committed misconduct.
So I find that very interesting for a couple different reasons. But when you talk about when Trump is asked about the vaccine and lockdowns and stuff, since it's very hard for him to admit where he's made some kind of error or mistake or something. He really pushed for Operation Warp Speed. So for him to admit that some people have been harmed, that's very hard for him to acknowledge. And so you have DeSantis, who's having these panels of people who have been harmed, going a route where we need to have accountability. And Trump is like, oh, everything was great, we did such a great thing, blah blah blah, etc. And he's not prone to own up to if there were some mistakes. Now, I've said many times, like the 15 days to slow the spread, like shut down the country, etc. Basically, when Trump did that, I think that was the beginning of the end of his presidency, especially how Democrats used those lockdowns to enrich their friends, enrich themselves, change election laws, sometimes not even properly. But they changed the world, took advantage of the situation. It's their mantra, like, never waste a good crisis. They certainly didn't waste a good crisis. As a matter of fact, there was a couple of Democrats who actually said, we're going through COVID and we can use this to basically push our agenda. Gavin Newsom said stuff to that effect, for example. So I don't have any malice or ill will toward Trump because he had all this information that people were telling him and he made the decision. The numbers that they were saying about people going to die, even in a best case scenario, they said you got to lock down. So you went ahead and they did it. But hindsight is 2020, and they shouldn't have. And it really went too far. And even when he tried to reopen stuff, it was a monster that had grown way beyond his control. And he does federal stuff, and the states, they would be able to decide when they open or not open, etc. But even there were some Republican governors start opening, and he's like, you're going too fast. At the same time, he's tweeting stuff like liberate Michigan and liberate different states where they're pretty tyrannical. So there's some mixed messaging throughout the pandemic. And I think as people question the choices that he made in a primary, and I'm talking about Democrats saying stuff like, oh, he didn't care, oh, he thought it was a hoax. I'm talking about Republicans looking at how people were able to get stuff over on him within his administration. Like Dr. Bricks admitted, in her book, that 15 days of slow spread, they didn't actually have the data at the time to affirm that was what they needed to do. She was just kind of hoping that it would come in, and she convinced other people to come on board with it. So those are questions that's going to be asked of Trump, and he's going to be pushed. And he even tried to come at DeSantis right before the midterms, about lockdowns, which Florida didn't really lock down. So, for a little while, it wasn't really long. So he's not going to be able to come at DeSantis. And I think they both know that this is a big issue that's going to be something that will play well in a primary. And I think DeSantis is going to have the advantage here. But at the same time, DeSantis did get help to vaccinate a lot of people, but a lot of those people were elderly. They have a huge elderly population. So, and I'm not saying that people should not have gotten vaxxed, period, but and neither of Trump or DeSantis is guilty of people being vaccinated who didn't want to be vaccinated. That is largely something that was enforced by lefties. So I just think it's interesting that they're going this route. But DeSantis, he said, he tweeted out, Florida will hold the medical establishment accountable by creating a grand jury to investigate the mRNA shots, and Big Pharma investigating cardiac-related deaths tied to the mRNA vaccine, forming the Public Health Integrity Committee to oversee the medical establishment. And Fauci was asked about this, and of course he was playing dumb.
But the latest now, Dr. Fauci, is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He's now asking the Florida Supreme Court to greenlight an investigation into, and the way he put it, is any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccines. What's your reaction to that?
I don't have a clue, Kate, what he's asking for. I mean, we have a vaccine that unequivocally is highly effective and safe and has saved literally millions of lives. The Commonwealth Fund has come out with a report just this past week that vaccinations that have been administered over this period of time, this last year and a half to 2 years, has saved 3.2 million lives, 18 million hospitalizations, and approximately $1 trillion in costs. So what's the problem with vaccines? I mean, vaccines are life-saving. So quite frankly, Kate, I'm not sure what they're trying to do down there.
How, you know what they're trying to do? They are trying to take accountability, hold someone accountable. Fauci has lied to the public repeatedly, whether it was about mask and all sorts of different stuff. He's taken policies that he would have said would have been silly before. So much stuff was done politically. When people say trust the science, they're talking about the political science. Maybe they don't know they mean the political science, not the actual science, but it's definitely been a political science thing. He was in a deposition some time ago, and he said, you know, I can't recall like over 100 times that's not going to play well. You know, when the Republicans get in charge and want to question him about some of the decisions that he made. And I hope they go really hard on him and continue their investigations. But even stuff like after the Barrington Declaration came out, and him and Collins wanted to like squash that because they had an agenda. They had an agenda. Michael Walsh. No, I'm sorry. I'm fusing them together. Michael Knowles has a Fauci exposed thing on the Daily Wire, and I would recommend that you go watch it if you haven't watched it. If you do have Daily Wire Plus, it's one of the best, most interesting things I've seen on their platform. It's a few episodes, maybe like 2-3 episodes. He could definitely add some more if he wanted to, because definitely some more things have come out since the time of him making that, and I thought it was pretty well done. So but it covers not just COVID, but goes back to like the AIDS epidemic, which Fauci, by the way, just says he has no regrets for his career, and that's pretty astonishing considering so many of the times he's been wrong and lied. But we have been misled about the rate of like transmission and all sorts of different things with Pfizer from government officials and stuff. How people were emotionally manipulated to take the vaccine or pressure other people to take the vaccine is just really remarkable. Elon Musk is saying that there's Twitter files and that's like Fauci related, misinformation related, that they can I don't know if he's going to release it, but let me see if I can find the tweet really quick. I tweeted it today. I didn't tweet it today, but I posted on my Facebook page. Let me just read it really quick for you guys. My pronouns are prosecute Fauci, which people were very mad about Elon tweeting that. But the Hodge twins asked, let me guess, you found messages between Twitter execs and our government, Fauci and team, pushing for censorship of anyone that didn't go along with their narrative on COVID. And then he gave them a trophy. And that's not actually very surprising because, I mean, Jen Psaki advocated, for that sort of suppression publicly. So I'm not surprised that there's email conversations. The thing about the Twitter files isn't that we're learning some new sort of bombshell revelations on stuff. Honestly, it's just that there's evidence for the things that we've been saying for so long. So kudos to Ron DeSantis. There's so many people who have been silenced and shamed for talking about harm that they've had with vaccine injury, just period. Which, by the way, there's so many people who are this is another reason why it's a smart play from DeSantis. There's so many people so passionate about vaccine injury, vaccine harm, mandatory vaccines in the grassroots. I mean, there's people who are passionate about it, period. And there's people on the left who are very passionate about not having vaccine mandates and stuff. But within really, really grassroots, Michigan, or for example, just everywhere, but I can tell you from experience here in my state, that is a huge issue to people. That is a huge issue to people. I know folks who are skeptical of Trump just because of like Operation Warp Speed and other stuff like that. So again, Ron DeSantis did vaccinate a lot of people, but they do have a very high elderly population in Florida. And with the vaccine, the most important thing to do was for people to be able to have the information to weigh their pros and their cons and the risk versus reward. And I think it's unethical how much they scared people. And Fauci's still going around saying, people asking like, oh, well, I'm a grandparent and my grandkids aren't vaccinated. Can I see them? And he's like, it's hard for me to be vaccinated. I'm like, sir, they should be okay if the vaccine is that effective for them. And the kids are okay. They'll live, most likely. They'll be fine. Trying to inject them with something that's unnecessary, it isn't ethical. It isn't fair. But nevertheless, that's still what they're pushing. Again, Trump and DeSantis both didn't push like people to pressure people in that sort of regard. That's more of a leftist thing. But if DeSantis is going to be the one pushing, because I've seen Trump, maybe it was his interview with Candace Owens, where she questioned him about vaccines, and he's just like, nobody's been harmed or anything like that. He said something to that effect. And I'm like, well, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, I've seen videos of particularly of a crying father because his son was killed he died after taking the vaccine. I know people who had heart attacks. And I know someone who, I don't know them, but I know somebody, a pastor who had to have a limb amputated after taking the vaccine. So there's been some harm. So if Ron DeSantis is going to push that as opposed to Trump pushing that, then that's going to be interesting because there's going to be some diehard grassrootsy people that are going to have to make a decision. Now I think there's some establishment Trump people who are like never Trump folks who also aren't going to really like DeSantis either, that are waiting for some kind of, I don't know, Hogan type of person to pop up. But there is no other big contender to Trump than DeSantis. So it's going to be an interesting primary, to say the least, if Trump decides to continue going forward, and if Ron DeSantis announces sometime in the middle of the next year, we shall see. But I think Trump's going to genuinely have competition. I do. Anyway, let's move on, which, by the way, let me show you this really quick. This is from a couple days ago, but the White House was asked, were they interested in doing some kind of panel with accountability? And she played dumb.
Thank you. Does President Biden support or oppose legislation that has stalled in Congress to create a 9/11 style commission to investigate the U.S. response to the COVID pandemic. What is the White House position on this?
So I think this has been asked before, I think during Jen's tenure. I don't have anything more to add or more to look into on this. I would have to go back to the team and see if our position has changed, but nothing new for you.
What was the position?
No, I'm just saying I know that this has come up. I just don't have anything else new to add or to go back and ask and to see where we are on that.
So but does the administration support it or oppose it? Or
I just answered your question. Okay. I said I know this has come up in the past, but I don't know if we've changed our position. I have to go back to see exactly where we are on that particular question.
Okay, thank you.
She's the worst. She's just the worst. How can you not have a answer on something like that, or just make something on the fly? Or, you know, she's obviously a diversity hire. She just obviously is. And I didn't think Jen was great. I mean, Kaylee for Trump, she was a force of nature. Jen Psaki wasn't as good as her, but Jen Psaki was better than their current one now. So I don't know how long she'll last, but because it's hard to get rid of them diversity hires like that, because then folks will be all upset about it. But she's just very, very bad in her job. But they should obviously be looking at what happened with the pandemic and what they could do to improve it and not make a lot of these mistakes. But to them, it wasn't a mistake. Mistakes that they made. They did a lot of deliberate things to obtain power. They just did. Anyway, I want to talk about Henry Cavill and James Gunn. And Henry Cavill is no longer playing Superman. And what's really messed up about it is they told him that he was going to play Superman, and he did an announcement, and fans were so darn excited, and all that is gone. So Henry Cavill had posted this on Instagram. I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's some sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman after being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire. This news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for will never will. It's been a fun ride with you all onwards and upwards. So really classy statement, heartbreaking. What he said at the end was still so sweet about Superman and what he stands is still there. And you know, the sad thing about Hollywood is that so many people I don't think people understand Superman. And it's kind of rumored that he didn't like the direction of like where Zack Snyder was going. And I know so many people love the Justice League Snyder cut. I didn't. I mean, there's stuff about it that I liked, like the scene where Superman showed up and hit the axe or something, and it just exploded on him. I mean, there were great Superman just coming in being a boss moment of that. It was too long. I could go into all the reasons I didn't like it on another day. But they were clearly doing a dark Superman, which they alluded to in like Batman versus Superman, like dream sequences that Batman had. Some stuff that wasn't even like explained, but they had this long scene at the end with like Superman being evil and people having to team up against him, and Batman and Joker together with Slade and other folks. And Amber Heard, was Amber Heard in there with a British accent, or Mira was there, and I guess Aquaman had been killed. And I didn't like the direction of where that was going, because I'm like, I feel robbed, because I want to see an optimistic Superman who's just doing good stuff for people and juggling elephants for charity, and just, I don't know, just that sort of happy Superman that people look up to. Like, he was introduced in Man of Steel. A lot of people don't like Man of Steel as much as I like Man of Steel. I did like Man of Steel. I didn't think it was perfect, but I did really enjoy it. And then Batman v Superman came out. I did not like that film at all. But the whole world was just crapping on Superman. It was so dark, and Batman was literally trying to murder him in the movie. And Joss Whedon's Justice League, I also did not care for. But one scene that I did like was a scene that they clearly like CGI'd his mustache off of, because he was in Mission Impossible, and it looked really goofy and really weird. But he was talking to some kids, and they did camera phone, and they were like interviewing him, and that just seemed like a scene that was missing from a lot of them dealing with Superman. It, like, there was just such a dark nature, like, just surrounding him with the other films, and Snyder was going to go this Injustice route. There's a series of an Injustice, like it's an Elseworld, like alternative kind of story where Superman is evil. I won't go to the whole explanation of it. But he kind of just flips his switch to be this tyrant for good, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, sort of thing. So becomes this tyrant, and it splits like the League and other stuff. So they've done games and other stuff based off of it, and it's a very popular thing. But I'm like, I want to actually see a good Superman story with hope and optimism. And Henry Cavill, he said it in his announcement and stuff that they were in different interviews that they were going to go to that Superman aspect that we have been missing. Everyone is just so dark and gruesome with their content and their tone. You can do that stuff with Batman, but Superman is a different animal. People look to him for different aspirational reasons, and we just don't have that right now in Hollywood, or an appetite or curiosity to do it the right sort of way. And I don't know, maybe they, I can't know all the reasons why James Gunn decided to not go that route with Henry Cavill, other than he has his own vision. He wants to do a new thing, but so many fans were so excited for him to come back and do this that it just seems like not seems, but it is a waste. It's such a massive waste. I'm going to play this announcement that Henry made in October.
Hey everyone, I wanted to wait until the weekend was over before posting this because I wanted to give you all a chance to watch Black Adam. But now that plenty of you have, I wanted to make it official that I am back as Superman. And the image you see on this post and what you saw in Black Adam are just a very small taste of things to come. So there's a lot to be thankful for, and I'll get to that in time. But I want to thank you guys most of all. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your patience. I promise it will be rewarded.
So he's the studio had him do that. Apparently there was like an executive that wanted to take things in a different route, have like a black Superman, all this other kind like stuff going on, and people are like, why don't you do stuff with Henry Cavill? He's so good at he's really good, a really good Superman in my opinion, but they haven't given him a good really story to work and build with. One of the reasons why I didn't like Batman versus Superman, because I thought that Ben Affleck was just going to come in and kind of do too much with the expanding of the Batman stuff, which ended up happening. And I really wanted a Man of Steel 2 after Man of Steel was over. But he's talked about how we're going to do Superman. We're going to have the optimism. And I just don't think that we're going to get that. And that's just really frustrating. It is also really frustrating because Henry Cavill is such a freaking fan. He's not doing Witcher. like he left Netflix doing Witcher and Baby Thor, Liam Hemsworth is going to do it instead. And so Henry Cavill loves the books and everything. He's a big gamer. He's just a real freaking nerd who looks amazing. It is so unfair. At least how they're treating him is really unfair. So he was committed to doing all these years of The Witcher as long as they stuck to the source material. So people speculate that they're going in some really weird directions or unfaithful directions, and that's why he's out. Probably also maybe the Superman thing. I don't know how much had to do with Superman, because people obviously do roles with different stuff, but he's probably out because of intellectual differences. And there was one article about the scene in The Witcher where his horse dies. And in the game, when his horse dies, I guess he just calls the horse Roach or whatever. The horse's name is Roach, but like whenever he gets a horse or whatever, he just names him Roach or I've never played The Witcher, but I do like the series. So there was a scene where in the second season where his horse dies, and the showrunners and folks wanted to include some humor in the scene where his horse that has been loyal and with us through the start of us watching the series, and they kill him. This dragon type of monster like claws the horse. There's these huge gashes in it, and I guess they wanted to add some humor. And maybe that works for Marvel. And by the way, I don't think it's working for Marvel anymore. I think the Marvel humor is too much. I haven't watched Marvel stuff in a while, but I think a problem with Marvel, and they're not getting the sort of engagement and excitement that they had in the past. I think a lot of it has to do with they're too in love with their own hype, and a lot of things that made it enjoyable, they just put stuff into overdrive. And I think one of those things is like, oh, people like the humor. Let's inject it in every single aspect at every moment. Let's not stop it. Let's just keep going. And it's just way too much. So here's a snippet of a article. The showrunner says Hisrich admits that when she first wrote the Roach death scene, her instinct was to puncture the moment with a bit of meta comedy. Henry Cavill pushed for a more heartfelt moment, and eventually Hisrich caved, which she says was ultimately the right call. Henry was so unhappy with the line, she recalls. Finally, I said, you know what? You come up with something. I trust you. You know this material so well. You know the book so well. You don't even have to pitch it to me. And he came back the next day with a beautiful speech that's at the end of the Sword Destiny when Geralt is facing death. And it's such a pitch perfect moment. And if you watch the scene, which I just went back and rewatched it not too long ago, it's so amazing that they just wanted to inject I don't know what kind of joke they wanted to inject there, but Henry Cavill does love the material. He is familiar with it, and he's probably gone back and forth with them on a lot of things to try to keep it accurate. So he'd probably be difficult for wherever they want to go with James Gunn. I don't know if it's going to be woke or whatever route that he wants to go. But for example, the Peacemaker show, they told John Cena not to bother looking up anything about the character because they're going to do their own thing. So I think they'll touch. There's a huge rogues gallery of Superman stuff that they've never even touched, like with any modern film. Like wouldn't it be awesome to see some kind of huge fight or story with Brainiac? I mean, with the graphics and stuff that they can do today on the big screen. I don't know what James Gunn is going to do, and he'll probably still take elements from the comics and whatnot, but he probably just has a story in mind, and the story that he wants is a story that's just going to be done. And Henry is a stickler for trying to be true and faithful to the fans, even at times when he's been in interviews and people try to goat him into saying into stuff about toxic fandoms. He hasn't fallen for it, and he talks about the passion of fans because he is a fan. And I just don't think he really fits into, and this can be a compliment, I suppose, the world that they're trying to make with entertainment, because they largely just want to take content and they want to take these legacy characters and they want to just either one, they don't care about the actual source material, all the other kind of stuff, and they just want to make mass produce more content for the purpose of just making money, but they also have different agendas that they want to work out and push different stuff with. And I don't know how woke or whatever sort of agenda that, or if there's an agenda to be had with James Gunn at all, but I don't know. This is upsetting to me. This is upsetting to me. James Gunn had tweeted out, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial saga stages of our story, we'll be focusing on the earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill, but we just had a great meeting with Henry and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. And I don't trust that. Just probably trying to ease our pain. And some people, they said it wouldn't be a reboot of an origin story, but I watched Smallville for 10 years. I'm not like excited about going that route again. I really do want to see a mature Superman in his role taking on big projects or whatever. And I have a lot of issues with the DC universe overall, so I can understand wanting to reboot it, the whole thing. But I definitely always wanted to see a Man of Steel too. So I'm bummed, man. I'm bummed. I have a theory that Henry Cavill is not a left wing person, and I guess that's more of a conspiracy, but he did used to date Gina Carano. and people did try to cancel him recently for his past association with her, and there's someone who said he made some problematic comments in the past and they retweeted it, and the problematic comment was, I believe I'm old fashioned, I believe a woman should be wooed and chased. And they tried to see that was like a Me Too thing. I'm like, you guys are stupid. Like, of course a woman wants to be wooed and chased by Henry Cavill. Of course that's a thing. Of course that's a thing. Of course that's a thing. But these media executives, they don't care about their fans. Personally, I didn't like the news of James Gunn getting the keys to DC. Like, people liked his Suicide Squad. People liked I didn't watch it. People liked Peacemaker. I didn't watch that. I'm not crazy about Guardians of the Galaxy though. And I know I'm in the minority. It's a very okay film. Like, it's all right. And the second one was less enjoyable, still all right. I'm not huge on James Gunn, but I don't know, but he can inject his woke stuff as well. I mean, he was trying to make Velma gay back in the day when he did the Scooby-Doo movie, and the executives wouldn't let him do that. So free reign over DC projects. While the comic books, by the way, the comic books in DC are so woke. They're so woke. So I have no idea where they're going to take this from here, but it's just a huge missed opportunity, and it's really sad. It's really sad. My Super Kid book, by the way, it's a children's chapter book. And I do have them available on Amazon if you want to get for your kids, but it's about a boy with an overactive imagination. He doesn't really have superpowers, but I got the idea from my dad when he was a kid growing up. He prayed to God to become like Superboy, and he thought he was actually getting powers because he was stronger than a lot of kids in his class. And he was quickly humbled, by the way. But there's a couple stories from my dad that I incorporated it into these stories, including like in the sequel, there's this kid Frostbite who's like the villain of the story. But anyway, Super Kid's dad, Felix, his name is Henry. Because I really like the idea. I wrote this years ago. And I mean, before there was like a Batman versus Superman movie, obviously Man of Steel had come out, and I really wanted him to play the dad. If they adapted it, so I just wrote him in there for there's a pic of at the end of the family. So yeah, and I like there's a scene at the end where there's like a police officer, and we even talked about like Michael Keaton playing the cops, so you could actually have Batman and Superman together. And this is before Batman versus Superman, when the executives were saying like that's not gonna happen. But hey, if you want to do a project, there's always Super Kid, Henry. There's always Super Kid. I'm very sad about the Superman news. Again, it's just a blow to the fans that really, really like it. Now, there's some people who say, hey, we've lived through different Supermans. It's not a big deal. Usually there's like a gap, I mean, he hasn't played Superman for a while, but he was just in the cameo for Black Adam. He was, and they did tell him to announce it. So I'm ranting now. I'm just going to go. Thank you guys for watching today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different videos, etc. And then for James Gunn, I never really got over his tweets and stuff that he made. Isn't it crazy? Not too long ago, he was canceled for like all of his like creepy like past pedo tweets, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy cast, they stood up for him, and people stood up for him, and he was like uncanceled, and he went on and made the next movie, and he started doing some other projects. Brightburn was okay. I think it was called Brightburn. Maybe it was like an evil Superman kid. He did that film and other projects, and he got came on to DC, and now he's like heading the DC universe. And so I'm not saying he needs to be punished forever for it, but I'm just like I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I had some complex feelings about it at the time when Marvel first canned him, because I'm like, if you guys actually knew about his creepy tweets from the past and now you're just lying because now they've come out, you guys are trash. And I'm like, but how could you not know about that stuff? You don't do any background like that on directors before you hire them for these big like multi $billion investment sort of that just seemed weird to me. Maybe they were getting rid of him to save face. I don't know, but maybe they didn't know. But if they did know, I thought it was shady to get rid of him knowing that they knew. So I'm not saying that he should have gotten super canceled. I'm just saying I didn't like it. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.